Hi, morning chap. So here we go. 10 reasons you are not getting stronger. First, thanks again for subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate it. If you haven't, please consider doing so, liking, sharing. That's how the channel grows. I really appreciate your support. So here we go. Number one, and I'm going to touch on all of these briefly, and then I will do a longer follow-up as we go. Okay? Number one, you're not training hard enough. So for most people, this is probably the least important thing, and I'll say why. If you're a beginner, almost anything you do is going to be good enough to get you stronger, okay, because you haven't done anything. If you're an intermediate, most intermediate people understand how to train hard, okay? And obviously, if you're advanced, that's the same thing. But not training hard enough kind of means this, and I'll keep it pretty simple because of time. I always think about like RIR. If you don't know what RIR means, it means reps in reserve. So when you're doing a set, how many reps in reserve do you have? And again, reps in reserve just means at the end of a set, how many reps could you still do? So let's say you do a set of 8 and you could have done 10. That means you have an RIR of 2. So for most people, most of the time, you want to have a RIR of between about 1 and 4 reps. Yes, sometimes you want to go to failure, but for the most part, if you're doing most of your sets with an RIR of 1 to 4, you're going to be okay. Number 2, you're training too hard. Now, this is funny because I actually see this more than not training hard enough, okay? Because most people that I've seen think they need to hammer away, go every set to failure. And when you do that, initially, what happens? Hey, you get stronger. You get a lot stronger quick because there's a huge amount of stimulus. But then you keep doing it, and then you stop getting stronger. And what do? You train even harder, and then you don't get stronger because you're training too hard. Your body cannot train so hard over and over again and get better. Initially, it will get better, but at some point, it's not going to. And that'll lead to one of the points I mentioned in a little bit. So what do I mean by training too hard? Doing every set to failure, okay? Never leaving anything left in the tank. Not taking enough rest. You cannot do that over and over again and continue to get better. Again, initially you might, but long-term you weren't. Number 3, not training enough. So again, this is a tricky one because a lot of it depends on where you are. So I'm 59 years old, a power lifter at a high level. And for me, I can't hit a body part 3 times a week, because I have a lot of experience and it's just too much. But for somebody new, they can maybe get away with that. So what I think about not training enough, what I generally mean is, let's just say you're doing chest. If you're doing 3 or 4 sets of chest a week, for most people, that is not going to be enough, especially as you get a little bit more advanced. For beginners, of course, because they're going to be able to do that. They're just brand new. But not training enough comes down to how many sets a week you do. And as a general rule, this is general, I would say if you're doing a high quality number of sets that are in the range of about, let's say, 6 to about 15 sets per body part, you're going to be okay most of the time. Okay. Number 4, again, training too much. So this is kind of like training too hard. Training too much just basically means like you're spending way too much time in the gym. Okay? You do not need to squat every single day. You don't need to bench every single day. You don't need to deadlift every single day. As a matter of fact, you can't do that. You'll never recover. So what does training too much mean? And again, it depends on where you're at and what your goals are. But to me, training too much means like if you're doing 30 sets per body part and they're quality sets, too much. Not necessary, and it's going to have minimal, and I mean minimal gain. For some people, can they handle that? Yes, but the results for most people, it's too much. So training too much. Number 5, and this is a biggie. When people talk about getting lean, if you are in a calorie deficit and you are an intermediate or advanced lifter, you are going to have a ton of trouble getting stronger. And I'll give you a perfect example. So I competed actually 148.2 pounds. That's my body weight for powerlifting. And I'm 5'4", so I'm not that big. But I don't walk around at that. That's my competition weight. but most of the time I'm in the 160s. If I walked around in a calorie deficit all of the time, it would be not significant, it'd be impossible to get stronger, especially as you're advanced. Okay, so you want to have some kind of calorie surplus. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in another video about bulking and everything like that. Number 6, one that gets to me just about more than anything. You're not on a program. So let me give you a basic idea. Having a push-pull legs, that's not on a program. That's a split. So that means you're doing like push, like chest, shoulders, tries, and then back and bis, and then legs and maybe core. To me, that is not a program. A program is something that has a purpose longer term. Just about anybody can see some progress if they're just training hard. But a program is something that changes frequently. Not every week, maybe not every 2 weeks, but every 4 to 6 weeks, there's some kind of change in the reps, some kind of change in the sets, some kind of change in the exercises. So it is critical to be on a program. Number 7, not recovering enough. And this is going back to that same thing about doing too much. So what do I mean by that? When I say recovery, I don't mean sitting on the sofa eating donuts. Okay? I mean you're not training intensely. You cannot, again, for most people, go to the gym every single day and hammer away. You're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to have enough recovery. Your central nervous system is going to be fatigued. Your muscular system is going to be fatigued. And you are going to break down. So, not recovering enough. Number 8, and this is kind of a different one. Too many accessory movements. And what I mean by that is, if you do bicep curls, tricep pushdowns, will you get stronger and better with those? Of course. You do enough bicep curls, you'll get decent biceps. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your overall physique. Doing too many accessories does not put enough stress on the central nervous system, does not help you adapt enough to get really, really strong. That's why deadlifts, squats, rows, heavy presses are so taxing on the central nervous system. And that's why they also get you really strong. So do you want to have some accessories? Of course. But you don't want everything to be an accessory. And I'll just give you a basic example. Let's say, again, I'm doing a push day, some kind of heavy dumbbell press, heavy bench press. They're great compounds. With that, you can do a pec fly. I don't particularly like them, but you can do them. You can do a pec deck. You could do cable crossovers. But generally, you want to do some kind of heavy compound for most muscle groups. Okay? Number 9, too much volume. So again, this kind of touches on that 30 sets or something like that. But I'm mentioning it because for most of the people that I see, especially younger people, they are doing too much volume instead of, more than too little volume. So too much volume over a course of a week is going to be something like this. Let's say that let's say we're doing back, okay? And you're training back twice a week. And let's say you're doing 12 sets on, let's say, Monday and another 12 on Thursday. I think that kind of volume can be okay. But let's say you're doing 20 sets of back on Monday and 20 on Thursday. That's 40 sets, especially if you're doing compounds like, let's say, deadlifting or heavy rows. And it's going to be incredibly hard to recover. Now, could you get away with doing some exercises that are not as fatiguing, like lighter lat pull downs, lighter rows? Yes, but then you're not training hard enough. So too much volume. And my last thing, number 10, okay? And this is the category that I personally fall in. And I'm going to mention it for a little bit longer. You're too darn advanced. So for me, I've been training for 46 years. I started training when I was 13. I'm 59. And when I say I'm really advanced, that's not to brag. It's just a reality that I am very advanced. I've been doing this for most of my life at a high level. Is it possible for me to get stronger? Yes, but everything has to be just about right. Matter of fact, I just competed about 4 weeks ago. I broke my bench press record at 59 years of age. I got 272 at 148 pounds. Naturally, my record before that was 270. So 2 pounds slight. I broke my squat record. It was 353, went up to 356, then 370. But small gains. So when you're really advanced, you can get better, but they're very, very small. So you have to kind of understand it. So just to kind of review, here you go. Number 1, you're not training hard enough. Number 2, you're training too hard. Number 3, not training enough. Number 4, you're training too much. Number 5, you're in a calorie deficit. Number 6, you're not on a program. Number 7, not enough recovery. Number 8, too many accessory movements. Number 9, you have too much volume. And number 10, you are just too advanced. Thanks again for all you do. Please comment, like, subscribe. I'm going to follow up with each one of these. I hope you really enjoy it. As I always say, you are awesome.